Okay, so this is Persona. So that's Film Class Week 11, Part 9. I just wanted to make one more video because I was at the park and I didn't have access to a quotation that I wanted. But it's important. I think it's an important thing. Um, so the quotation's from a guy named Brian Eno, who's, I don't know, I know him from collaborating with David Byrne, but he's a musician that you probably don't know, but he's interesting. And he does all kinds of interesting weirdo sound shit. He's cool. Um, so Brian Eno said this, and I think I'm reading off of I had to go home to get my computer, so I'm reading it off of the fucking thing there. Okay, so Brian Eno said, whatever you now find weird, ugly, uncomfortable, and nasty about a new medium, meaning the form of art, like a movie or a CD or whatever. He's talking about music mostly, so but film, like actual film that you can hold in your hand, or digital film, or painting, or whatever. Those are mediums, right? Using paint, sculpting out of stone, the thing the art is made out of. Whatever you now find weird, ugly, uncomfortable, and nasty about a new medium will surely become its signature. CD distortion, the jitteriness of digital video, the crap sound of 8-bit, which is the old like video game sounds from the 80s. All of this will be cherished and emulated, copied, as soon as they can be avoided. It's the sound of failure. So much modern art is the sound of things going out of control, of a medium pushing to its limits and breaking apart. The distorted guitar sound is the sound of something too loud for the medium supposed to carry it. The blues singer with the cracked voice is the sound of an emotional cry too powerful for the throat that releases it. The excitement of grainy film or of bleached out black and white is the excitement of witnessing events too momentous for the medium assigned to record them. And that's Brian Eno, from a book or an essay called A Year with Swollen Appendices. I don't know what that is. So Brian Eno, it's a really interesting quote. It really emphasizes something important that I try to emphasize in film class and indeed in all my classes. It's one of my big points, which is that most people treat art as a window into another world, and they try to ignore the window because what they want to talk about is the other world. They want to talk about the characters and why did they do what they do, and what would you do in that if you were in that situation. Like you would learn, they want to learn from the characters in the movies in the way that you would learn from people and they want everything in that world to make sense. So they want it to be kind of like our world, and even if the people have superpowers, they want the superpowers to sort of make some kind of sense. Um, and I think that's the way most people talk about art, like it's a window into a real world, or music is often a window into what's going on in someone's mind or their soul or whatever. But that's the idea. They broke up with somebody, and it reflects a real world issue that they had to deal with. And it's not a bad way to look at art. I don't hate it, but it has limitations. And one of the limitations is it treats the medium, meaning the thing the art is made out of, like it's disposable. It's because who cares if it's about the actual camera angles? What we're talking, because a lot of people don't care about camera angles. They don't care about music the characters can't hear. They're really interested in that world that the art lets them see into. But one of the things we try to do in this class is pay attention, not just to the world on the other side of the window, but to the actual window itself and what's going on there. Meaning the art form, right? So that's why we spend so much time talking about things like camera angles and lighting and right, because some of my students watch movies and I'm like, why is it lit like this? And they're like, well, because there's a lamp over there. Yeah, but right, because that's in the character's apartment, and that's true. If it was the real world, the character put a lamp there, fine. But the question I have is, why did the director design a room that has a lamp right there? Because it casts a shadow and it does a thing. So that what Brian was talking about the guitar sound that's too loud, for the distorted guitar sound is the sound of something too loud for the medium supposed to carry it. The blues singer with the cracked voice is the sound of an emotional cry too powerful for the throat that releases it. Something like that happens in Persona when Alma becomes so upset at the incredible betrayal that she faces, from Vogler, who has been telling her secrets to someone else, and is not the friend and therapist that Alma imagined her to be. It tears the film apart. Like literally, the film itself catches fire. And this is what I'm talking about, that we need to pay attention to the actual art being made. Because when you talk about people like they live in an alternate world, it's just more reality. And art is some, like, to talk about art as art is to pay attention to something else, which is the way that it's made and the way that it's put together. And what a lot of the movies we're looking at this semester do is they draw attention to what the director's doing. Or right, and that's one of the reasons why students find it so confusing, is because they're so used to movies existing to show you what's going on in some other world that's pretty much just like our world. Um, and what's happening is that the film itself is fighting and doing battle and causing trouble, like Lost Highway, that seems to where the film itself seems to break apart, or this part where the film catches fire in Persona. Um, it's sort of, you can feel it. You can feel the medium. The film itself is tearing itself apart. And the questions we ask are questions about why is the film made the way it is, not just the reality of the characters. And you have to talk about that level in Persona. You can't just talk about the world of the characters, because here's the thing: the world of the characters doesn't make any sense. You could try to force it to make sense by being like, oh, it's all a dream she's having, or she's psychotic, or whatever. But that's not super helpful, because that makes her into a weirdo and you into the normal person. And one of the points I've been making all semester long, especially with Blue Velvet and Rear Window, is that, like, you, the audience, are dealing with the same issues that the characters on screen are dealing with. So don't dismiss them by being like, they're crazy. Because whenever you say they're crazy, what you mean is they're crazy and I'm not. But one of the points that Blue Velvet makes, for example, is that the craziness that you see on screen is the craziness that's also in you. You are the voyeur. It's not just is Jeffrey a pervert or a detective? Are you a pervert or a detective? And with films like Persona, it forces you to talk about the medium, film itself. I mean, opening and closing shots are of a film camera. You literally see the movie being made. You have to talk about that level, because it draws attention to itself so much. Just like that cracked voice of the blues singer, just like the distorted sound of the guitar, it's drawing attention to itself and forcing the audience to talk about it. And that's what makes it a different kind of film. Is that it's drawing attention to how it's made. And most people don't like to think about how it's made. Most people don't want to think that it is made. They want to think that it's a real world just over there. It helps them imagine they could go there and live there if they wanted to. But we live here, and what I want to do is talk about the art that we have here, not the other world on the other side of the film screen. And by the way, totally fine idea to talk about the other world on the other side of the film screen. I'm not asking you to talk about decisions the director makes instead of what the characters do. I just want to make sure everybody talks about what the characters do. Let's add to that decisions that directors make. And when I say director, that's a shorthand, because I also mean the costume designer and the lighting designer and the sound designer and all the people that make the makeup designers and all the people that make the movie. Okay, I think we're done with Persona, and I'll see you guys for the next movie.